In this module, we will look at strategies for listening and learning during negotiation and during mediation. Many of these strategies are helpful for listening and learning in any conflict situation. We hope you will find these techniques useful as you construct conflict. First, let's look at how we can listen and learn during negotiation. As you remember from Module 3, there are 3 stages in a negotiation: analysis, planning, and discussion. Learning as much as we can in stages 1 and 2 will help us as we listen carefully in stage 3 and look for ways to forge agreement. In Module 3, we talked about how important it is in the analysis phase to think about your own goals and underlying interests. It is also important to develop a BATNA before going into a negotiation. A BATNA is a best alternative to a negotiated agreement. As we go into a negotiation, we have in mind what we hope will be accomplished, but we also want to have in mind our BATNA, or what would be better than negotiating an agreement that would not be in our best interests. In other words, we negotiate to produce something better than if we didn't negotiate. But if we cannot negotiate to produce something better, what is our alternative? To develop a BATNA, follow these steps. Invent a list of actions you might take. Think about all of your options, even those that might not be practical. Try to come up with some promising ideas for actions that you might take if this negotiation doesn't work out. Improve on some of the more promising ideas. Spend some time thinking about those ideas and how you might pursue them if necessary. Select tentatively the best alternative. After considering all of your possible alternatives in terms of what actions to take if the negotiation doesn't work out, choose the best one. This is your BATNA. Unless the negotiation is able to produce something better than this option, an agreement is not in your best interests. Lastly, consider the other side's BATNA. Although you might not know the specifics of the other party's alternative options, just reflecting on the idea that both parties have other options can help put the negotiation in perspective and can help you focus on identifying ways to meet everyone's interests. Ultimately, there are 2 reasons to develop a BATNA: to protect yourself from making a bad agreement and to make the most of what assets you do have. Once you enter the actual negotiation, you will want to make your interests come alive. Be specific in what you want and why. Acknowledge the other party's interests and put the problem, interests, before the answer, positions. You are more likely to find agreement by focusing on the interests. We probably already know that the positions don't match up, but possibly we can find some common interests. Look forward, not back. It isn't helpful to dwell on the negative or on what is not working. Be concrete but flexible, and be hard on the problem, which is how to find some agreement or alignment in the respective interests, and be soft on the people. Remember the basic human needs and be sensitive to issues of identity and face. Unfortunately, sometimes other parties in negotiations are not collaborative and choose competitive tactics instead. Fisher and Ury identify some of these dirty tricks. Some common dirty tricks are using psychological warfare, including putting people in stressful situations. Unfortunately, almost anyone who has bought a car is familiar with this one. There are also personal attacks, which are designed to unsettle us, good cop, bad cop, which we've all seen on TV, and even threats, often to walk away from the negotiation. You may also be familiar with some positional pressure tactics. These include a refusal to negotiate or not being willing to consider budging from a position, making extreme demands or escalating demands, using lock-in tactics in which one party tries to force the hand of the other, and the take it or leave it play in which one party asserts a bottom line. Dirty tricks also include deliberate deception. Competitive negotiators may use phony facts or facts that are presented in a biased way, or they may assert ambiguous authority, claiming that they can't make a decision unless they have authorization from a higher power. Unfortunately, sometimes people have dubious intentions and may agree to something they have no intention of honoring. You can find a web link to a list of all of these dirty tricks, along with some others, in the course resource section. How about you? Have you ever been the victim of a dirty trick? Pause the video here to see if you can remember a situation in which you or someone you know was involved in a negotiation with someone using dirty tricks. So what should you do if the other party is using dirty tricks? Remember, dirty tricks are used by one side to throw the process off in order to gain an advantage for themselves. If you find the other party is using dirty tricks, try to negotiate the rules of the game. In negotiating the rules, Fisher and Ury suggest questioning the tactic, not the person. Ask the other party why they are trying to use the tactic and ask for new ways to negotiate. Try to find and establish new rules, and as a last resort, turn to your BATNA. Another strategy that Fisher and Ury suggest for negotiating is the one-text procedure. In this procedure, each party is asked to separately write down what they hope to get out of the negotiation, recording both their interests and their needs. Then a third party creates a single text focusing on an agreement that reflects both parties' interests. Each party then has the opportunity to criticize the text, which goes through multiple rounds of review and revision until finally being ready for recommended acceptance by both parties. This procedure was actually used by President Jimmy Carter in negotiations at Camp David. You can read more about that in the course resources section in the article on Fisher and the one-text procedure. Listening and learning with a focus on interest while working through a negotiation can lead to the productive construction of conflict.